I want to start today with a number that, honestly, it feels less like a statistic and more like a sentence. 112 years.
112. That sounds like a typo. Or, I don't know, a combined prison sentence.
You would think. But in this stack of documents we're looking at, 112 years is the combined time for two legal battles fought by a single family.
Wow.
And if we just strip away the secondary case and focus on the main event, the fight for their home at Tuatu Quan Trung and Ha Dong, we are still looking at over half a century.
50 years. I mean, that means its legal battle is older than most of the people listening right now.
Exactly. And the tension here isn't just about the time, it's about who is waiting. We aren't talking about, you know, enemies of the state.
No, far from it.
We're talking about the family of Martyr Nguyen Hung Teep, a family with 70-year party members, people who gave their blood for the revolution, and now they're locked in this 50-year cage match with the very system they helped build.
And that's the core irony we have to unpack today. We have this huge file here, petitions, report number 218, conclusion number 358. They sound incredibly dry, but these documents are the walls keeping this family from their home.
So to help us tear down those walls, we're going to look at this through a very specific lens. We're going to try and channel the late lawyer Nguyen Trong Thai. He was the former chairman of the Hanoi Bar Association, a real legal heavyweight who took this case pro bono.
Right. And he didn't just see this as a property dispute. For him, it was a test of the rule of law. His analysis is basically our scalpel today. He asked a simple question: does the bureaucracy have to follow the actual law, or can it just make up a story to cover its tracks?
So let's play investigator. We need to go back to the scene of the crime, or maybe the scene of the borrowing. We're in Ha Dong, Hanoi.
Right. 202 Quang Trung. It's a prime piece of real estate today, 819 square meters. But back in the 1940s, it was just the family home.
And usually with these old land cases, the paperwork is a mess. It's all, my grandfather said this, or the map was lost in the war.
But not here. That's the first big surprise. The ownership evidence is just rock solid. The Martyr's father, Mr. Nguyen Hung An, he bought the land in 1942 and again in 1957. We have the deeds.
Okay.
But more importantly, we have a document from 1957. It's called the Extract of the Land Register.
And 1957, that's a key date.
It's crucial because it means the Democratic Republic of Vietnam, the revolutionary government, recognized their ownership after the major land reforms of the mid-50s. They had the stamp of approval from the new regime.
So they have the land, they have the papers. How do they lose it?
This is where the story shifts from legal to visceral. It's 1961. The mother, this is Tad Thi Lien, has a horrific accident. She falls into a lime pit.
A lime pit.
Yes. It causes terrible burns. She needs long-term hospitalization. Now, you have to look at the family situation. The father is gone. The adult sons, including Nguyen Hung Teep, are away in the army fighting for the country.
So the house is effectively unguarded.
Completely. Just younger kids and an incapacitated mother. It's a moment of extreme vulnerability.
And that's when the Quiet Tien Cooperative makes their move.
Exactly. They approach the family and they ask to borrow the land.
Borrow.
Just to store some materials.
Yeah.
Wood, bricks. They promised they'd give it back.
But I'm guessing borrow in 1961 didn't mean the same thing it does today.
It was a one-way transaction. They moved their stuff in and they just never moved out.
Okay, so this sounds like a classic case of, might makes right. The cooperative just took it because they could. But then, if we fast forward to 1974, the story gets really weird.
This is the moment lawyer Ty really zeroed in on. In 1974, 13 years after they borrowed the land, the cooperative summons Mrs. Lane to their office.
To kick her out.
No, to offer her money. 420 dong, to be exact. They called it a retroactive payment to buy the land they'd been using.
Wait a second. If they thought they already owned it, or if the state had taken it, why offer to buy it?
That is the million-dollar question. And lawyer Ty argued that this is the smoking gun. Legally, you cannot buy what is already yours. By making that offer in 1974, the cooperative was admitting on the record that they knew Mrs. Lean was still the lawful owner.
It's basically an admission of guilt. We know this isn't ours, so here's some pocket change to make it go away.
Precisely. And Mrs. Lean, to her credit, she refused. She didn't want the money. She wanted her home back. This kicked off a legal ping-pong match. In 1975, the Ha Dong Town Court rules for the cooperative.
Okay.
But in 1976, the Ha Son Bin Provincial Court, the higher authority, it canceled that ruling.
So that the higher court actually sided with the family.
They did. They ruled the lower court was wrong. So legally, the family won. But, in administrative systems, winning the verdict is only half the battle. Enforcement is the other half.
And clearly, enforcement did not happen. Because in 1995, we get the eviction.
November 8th, 1995. The sources describe this massive force organized by the Hatay People's Committee. They didn't come to enforce the family's rights. They came to clear the land for a corporation, the Songday Company. They evicted an elderly martyr's mother and her grandchildren right onto the street.
This is where I want to put my reporter hat on. Because the government can't just evict a revolutionary family without a reason. They need a narrative. They have to have a legal justification. What was it?
And this brings us to what you call the administrative maze, and a document called Report Number 218. This report, from 2010, is the shield the government uses.
So what does Report 218 say?
It argues the family lost land during land reform. Guy catch Reed back in the 1950s. The report claims the grandfather, Mr. Nguyen Hung Chuk, was a landlord.
Right.
Therefore, his land was confiscated by the state. End of story.
Landlord is the ultimate trump card in that era. If you were labeled a landlord, you lost your land, it seems. I mean, it sounds like a watertight argument.
It does seem that way, until you let someone like Lawyer Ty look at it. He completely dismantled this argument with one simple distinction: geography.
How so?
Lawyer Ty acknowledged the facts. Yes, the grandfather was a landlord, and yes, his land was confiscated. But that land was in Lefou.
Which is where?
The countryside.
Yeah.
It was agricultural land. The land we're talking about, however, is in Hadong.
The city.
Exactly. Lawyer Tai pointed out this huge legal nuance that Report 218 just completely ignores. The land reform laws of 1953 specifically applied to rural agricultural land. They did not apply to not the urban residential land.
So you can't use a penalty for a rice paddy in a village and apply it to a townhouse in the city.
Precisely. It's like getting a speeding ticket in New York and having the police seize your house in London. The jurisdictions just don't match.
And this connects back to that 1957 document you mentioned earlier, doesn't it?
It fits perfectly. If the land had been confiscated during land reform in 1953, why on earth would the government issue a title deed to the family in 1957? The existence of that document proves the state knew land reform didn't apply to this house.
So Report 218 is effectively rewriting history to justify what happened in 1995.
That was Lawyer Ty's conclusion. He argued they were retrofitting a justification, and he wasn't alone. Even former Deputy Prime Minister Nguyen Con Tan saw through it.
I saw that in the notes. Back in 2000, he said something like, the government might not be right and Mrs. Lian might not be wrong.
Which is incredibly diplomatic language for we messed up. Later on, he was even more blunt. He said that applying land reform rules to this urban plot was simply wrong. He suggested a compromise.
What kind of compromise?
Well, the original land is gone. It's a construction site. So he suggested compensating the family with a plot of equal value.
That sounds reasonable. Did they get it?
They got something, but not justice. The local authorities eventually gave them a 250 square meter plot. But, and this is a huge but, they framed it as resettlement for a family with no shelter.
What's the difference between that and compensation?
Everything. Compensation is a legal admission that the state took your property and owes you for it. Resettlement aid is charity. It's the state saying, we don't owe you anything, but here we feel sorry for you.
And for a family of party members, a family of martyrs, that's a profound insult.
It's a slap in the face. They weren't asking for a handout. They were asking for the state to just acknowledge the truth.
Which brings us to the document that has frozen this whole case in time. Conclusion number 358.
Issued in 2010 by the National Assembly Standing Committee. It basically took that flawed Report 218 and stamped agreed. It formalized the land reform lie as the official truth.
And this created what the family calls, I love this term, the bi-ri-ri.
Bi-ri-ri. That's a very evocative Vietnamese phrase. It's the sound of something heavy and sluggish, like an old engine trying to turn over, but it's just grinding metal. It means obscurity, stagnation, something stuck in the mud that just refuses to move.
It's actually a term that former National Assembly Chairman Nguyen Sinh Hung used himself when he looked at this case. He asked why the resolution was so bi-ri-ri.
And that perfectly captures the situation. You have high-level leaders, deputy PMs, chairmen, looking at the file and saying, hang on, something is wrong here. But the machinery below them, the bi-ri-ri, it refuses to budge.
I want to talk about the tone of the family's fight for a minute, because when you read their petitions to the General Secretary and the President, they don't sound like rebels. They sound disappointed.
That's the 70-year party member spirit coming through. Mrs. Nguyen Thi Phuong Dung, the martyr sister who's leading this fight now, she writes with this sense of revolutionary morality.
She's quoting the system back to itself.
Exactly. She cites General Secretary Nguyen Phu Trong's anti-corruption campaigns. She cites the party's duty to be close to the people. Her argument is basically, you taught us to be fair. You taught us the party corrects its mistakes. So please, live up to your own standards.
It's a powerful kind of moral leverage. She's not attacking the regime, she's fighting for its integrity.
And that's what lawyer Ty meant when he wrote that Conclusion 358 was chuatum fuk fuk,
Which means?
not convincing to the heart or the mind. He was saying you can't just issue a document and call it truth. If the facts don't line up, if the geography of land reform doesn't fit, then the conclusion is hollow. It doesn't command respect.
Now, just to add one more layer of absurdity to this 112-year figure we started with, there is a second case. We don't have to go deep, but we should mention the House for Stay.
Right. This is the B-plot that just highlights the same systemic failure. In 1972, the family let a man named Fan Van Fay stay on another piece of their land, 367 square meters, just out of kindness. It was a no, or temporary shelter.
And let me guess, he didn't leave.
He refused to leave. Built illegal structures. The family sued.
A simple eviction case, you'd think.
You would think. But the sources note that over 78 judges and 4 levels of court have touched this one case.
78 judges for one squatter.
It's insane. But it just reinforces the main point. The family has inheritance documents from 1924. They have the law on their side. But the enforcement mechanism is completely broken. It's just more be-re-re.
So where does this leave them today? Mrs. Lian, the mother who was evicted, she passed away without seeing justice.
She died waiting. And Mrs. Dung is now elderly, still carrying the torch. The sources show recent letters sent to the current leadership, including General Secretary DeLam. They're pleading for a review of Conclusion 358.
They want that wall taken down.
They want the record corrected. They know they can't get the physical land back now. It's gone. But they want the stigma removed. They want the state to admit that the land reform excuse was wrong and that their family was always the lawful owner.
It's about honor, and it's about precedent.
It is. And lawyer Ty's legacy really shines here. He worked for free because he knew that if the system could do this to a martyr's family, if they could ignore clear evidence and invent a history just to cover a bureaucratic error, then really, nobody is safe.
That's the scary part, isn't it? We're looking at a family with the best possible credentials. Revolutionary contribution, check. Clear documents, check. Top-tier legal help, check.
And yet, they are still waiting. It really forces a provocative question for anyone listening. If a family with this much status and this much proof can be trapped in limbo for 50 years because of one flawed report, what chance does the average citizen have?
That is a question that lingers. We'll be watching to see if Mrs. Dung can finally get that engine to turn over and break the be-re-re.
Let's hope she does.
That's it for this deep dive. Thanks for listening.